Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm showcasing LawnFawns Wild Wolves stamp set along with the dies, and I'm going to be making a card using those. I'm actually making my card for the LawnFawntics monochromatic challenge, and so I've decided to go with these orchid kind of oasis colors. So I started with B17 for the moon with my Copic markers, and I just added some shadow. I'm now blending out with BV13, and I'm kind of going around those circles because the circles are going to be a lighter color. I'm using BV11 for the highlight, and then I'm also going to take the BV11 and use that for the shadow for the inner craters of that moon. I'm also using V01 to blend that out. I know it's not the same tone, but I really like the way it looked. I also ended up using V01 for the stars. So now I'm just going ahead and starting on those trees. I'm using N6 to lay shadow on the left side of that tree. I'm then going ahead and using N4 to blend out that shadow a little bit. And it looks like there wasn't a lot of space left in those branches. And so I did blend it a little bit, but not a lot. I then took N2 and blended it out even more. And then finally, I'm using N0 to do the lightest parts of the tree. I'm now going to go ahead and do the little tree as well. I thought it was just so cute. I needed to have it in the scene. And I'm using those same colors. So N4 again to blend out, and N2 to blend it out even further. And then finally, I'm going to use the N0 for the very light color on that tree. I'm going to be using the same colors for that little rock there. N6, I believe, was the darkest I used on there. And then for the tops of the rocks on the bottom, I added N6 as well because I knew the lighter color would be above those rocks and I wanted it to have a little bit of contrast. So I'm using N2 and I completed it there. I didn't end up using N0 for this one. And then I realized I missed a little bit of blending on those rocks at the bottom. So I brought back the N2 to do that. So now I'm going to get started on the wolves, and I'm using BV17. So the same color I used on the moon for the head of the wolf. And I decided to start with one of the wolves because I wanted to see how it would look before I went ahead and did the other one. So I'm using BV13 to blend out the wolf on the left hand side, and I put the shadow on the left hand side of the wolf just because that's where his back is facing. For his fur, I'm using BV11 around for the shadows and then blending out in V01 to kind of match the moon. I also used V01 for the innards of his ear. I was going to use two colors, but after I added V01 on the one wolf, I was like, okay, it looks good and I don't need to add any additional colors just because it's contrasting really well with that BV17. So now I'm just using BV13 to blend out, and again doing the exact same thing as I did on the other side with that first wolf. Just finishing up his beard and blending out with the V01. Now, as you can see, there's another moon and some wolves stamped there, but I actually made a mistake, and so I stamped it twice. And so the ones that are corrupted are not going to be colored. For that crow, I used the same colors, and now I'm just going to go ahead and cut them out with the matching dies. So now I'm just going to grab an Orchid Oasis card base, and I'm going to cut out the spooky backdrop using that. I'm also going to do a hillside border in the Fresh Frieza colored cardstock and cut those out. Now I have everything kind of put together here. I kind of tried to arrange the scene before I would come back on camera. So here is my card base. I'm just folding that in half. It's just a regular A2 sized card base, 5.5 by 4 1/4. I'm gonna then use the speckled cardstock by LawnFawn in that light purple color, and that's gonna be the very bottom of my card. So I'm just taking some Tombow glue and I'm gonna put that on the back side. I don't know if you noticed, but on the back side there is, it looks kind of like a watercolor splash, so you could use that side as well, but I really like the gold on the front, so I decided to go with that. So I'm just putting that down and I'm holding it down in place just so it adheres properly. There's a little bit of a border there, which I am going to go ahead and cut out after I stick that hillside border at the bottom. So for that, I'm also going to use my Tombow liquid glue, and I like using it because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room when you put it down. So if you didn't put it down properly, you have the chance then to move it around. So I'm just gonna take my scissors and cut off the excess there, and then just there's a tiny little bit on that side that I wanted to cut off too, just because it doesn't look professional if you don't cut that part off. So there is the base of the card. Then I'm gonna take that spooky background and I'm gonna put some foam tape on the back, and I'm gonna put that right on top of everything because I kind of wanted it to have a little bit of a shadow box look. And those bigger areas, I did put a little bit of more foam there just to make sure it all pops up properly when I stick it down. So I'm just removing those backings and I'm gonna go ahead and put that down onto the card base. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to arrange everything into that frame there. So I'm gonna start with the rocks, and I'm gonna do like a little bit of a layout, like how it's gonna look. So I was seeing if I wanted to put that tree on top, but now I've decided to actually put it on the inside of the spooky backdrop. So I'm just going to arrange everything, and once I have it all in place, then I'm going to go ahead and glue everything down. So I'm just putting those stars on as well to see how that's going to look, and they always look good in a triangle shape. So I decided to do it that way. So I think the only things I'm going to pop up are the wolves. Everything else is going to be going down in the liquid glue. So I'm starting with my biggest piece and putting down the spooky tree, and I'm going to kind of tuck that inside of the spooky backdrop just so it doesn't take away from there. When I had it outside, I would have had to put dimensionals on one side and then liquid glue on the other. Plus, it was kind of taking away from the frame itself. So I'm just putting that tree on the other side just to give it of that hillside border, just to balance it out a little bit. And then I'm putting my rocks down near the bottom. And I went kind of low so that when the wolves came on, they wouldn't be too high. So I have dimensionals on the back of the wolves and I put those down. I'm also going to put dimensionals on the back of, the wolves, and now I'm putting dimensionals on the back of the moon. And I wanted that to kind of pop up a little bit too, to give it that 3D effect. So that's just going to go right up top there near the stars. So for the stars, I'm using my tool to kind of hold those on the tool, because when I try to pick them up with my hands, they get stuck, and the easiest way to do it was like this. So I pick it up using my tool there and then stick it down with the tool so I don't get any glue on my hands. Now the last thing to put on was that bird, and I thought it looked cute there, but I also thought it looked really cute on the backdrop itself. And so I decided to go with putting it on the backdrop, and I'm just putting that on now. Now what happened was, because that backdrop is popped up, I had issues gluing it down, so I just did it a second time, and that time it worked out really well. And we're almost done, so just kind of getting rid of all my garbage there. And the last thing I'm going to do is my greeting. So I'm using that same speckled cardstock, but the other side, the one that looked more like a watercolor. And I'm just using some purple Gorgeous Grape ink to stamp down "It's Your Day" on there. And then I'm just going to take my scissors. I'm cutting a little bit far away because I wanted to do a bannered edge, and I'm just using my scissors to do that. If you have a banner punch, that would also work as well, but I was just in a hurry and I didn't want to pull out my banner punch, and so I just decided to do that. I think the white really pops on that card, so I'm putting one dimensional on the side because it's going to be on the branch there, like just off the branch, and it needed to be popped up like the rest. So I was just kind of deciding where I wanted to put it. I put liquid glue on the other side and then just glued it down, and that is my completed card. So if you guys have enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. I'm just zooming in to give you a better look there. I really appreciate the support, and thank you for watching. Have a good weekend.